My name is Jennifer Clare. I'm the founder of Home Cooking New York. We're a recreational cooking school in New York City. We have been teaching people how to cook, home cooks, mostly kids, adults, for about 15 years in downtown. Actually, we're in Chinatown. And we came to know about time after school. I'm not sure, Jenny is the person who reached out to us, but when we had to close up for COVID in March of this year, we really didn't want to stop teaching at all. You know, we have a staff of 6 different chef instructors, and, you know, it came as a big surprise when we had to shut down. But it turned out that teaching people how to cook virtually ended up being an extremely successful and satisfying way to teach people how to cook. Everybody was stuck at home, not going to work, not going to school. And one of the nice things about doing virtual classes is that all of the teaching that you're doing, or all of the cooking that you're doing, is actually going to be in your own space. So when we, as teachers, when people come to our cooking school, it's marvelous. We love having people at the school. But when you have to go home and replicate those dishes at home with your own pots and pans and maybe the ingredients that you use or the space that you have, sometimes the learning, it's not quite as fluid. So teaching people at home, you know, with just a laptop opened up in front of them, so they're in their own homes, they can, you know, sort of work at the speed that they want to, they can cook with foods that they are comfortable with. It sort of opened up the playing field for us in terms of students that could take our cooking classes. It wasn't only a logistical issue. So we used to, you know, only be a New York City, Manhattan-based business. So now people from all over the world can take our cooking classes. But it really also opened us up to different kinds of students. So some students were coming to us, especially with kids who have severe food allergies, because we couldn't, you know, we couldn't promise that we weren't going to have, you know, we have nuts in our space. There's dairy allergies. There's different religious restrictions that people abide by. So when you're cooking in your own home, no matter what the teacher is cooking, you're able to adapt for your own tastes or interests or family. So I decided to broadcast from my own home kitchen so you can see really what we do. So when we all had to stop working at our school in New York, I have 6 instructors, and we were all teaching from our own home kitchens, which actually ended up being a really wonderful experience too, because it's really great for students to see the kind of home that I have. So I'm a professional chef, but this is my home. You know, it doesn't look that fancy. I don't look like it comes out of Architectural Digest. This is where I cook. So you really don't need a fancy kitchen. You just need the kitchen that you have, because that is the kitchen you're going to be cooking in. So the reason I'm here, I know this is geared towards kids. So we ran a whole virtual cooking school online, mostly for adults. But one of the nice things about having a virtual school versus a brick and mortar school is that you can teach as many classes as you want. All I had to do was get a Zoom room for each teacher, and I had 6 different cooking schools running. Everybody was teaching different classes, one from Brooklyn, one from Washington Heights. I'm in Beacon, New York, in the Hudson Valley, and it was great. So we were able to teach more cooking classes for kids because our school in the city, there's only one kitchen, so we often didn't have time to have kids and then set up again for an evening class for adults. So we really blew out a kids culinary program. And we were able to work with kids much younger than we were comfortable with at our own school, because parents were going to be there attending to them. So we have kids who, some of the programs were, you know, what I'm here to tell you about is our after school supper club. So this is something we started last year, probably in May of last year. So we had plenty of kids. No one was going to school. Everybody was home. So this became a way for kids to have an after school activity that also, you know, it was a win-win situation. They were making dinner for their family. So the after school supper club is a 90-minute class from 4:30 to 6 o'clock, where the kids tune in, and ahead of time you choose which after school, like it's every Thursday at this point. And each Thursday is a different menu. So you only sign up for the classes that your kids are interested in, that your family is interested in the menu. We have things like homemade falafel. You know, we do lots of stuff with the hands. So things that kids are used to sort of eating out of a package, we really like to sort of break it down. So we make corn tortillas from scratch. We make gnocchi from scratch. We make pizza from scratch. We make falafel from scratch, shawarma, sushi, lots of the takeout foods. We really like to show them, you know, everything that you eat out, you can make at home. So kids and families can go through our weekly menu list and choose the classes that, again, are of interest. You want your kids to be interested in the food or curious about the kitchen. It's not as fun if they're not, have a sort of interest in food. And we certainly try to make it engaging. So it's just, it's me or one of my other instructors are taking them through the 90-minute preparation of a meal to serve their family. We typically try to make our classes serve 4 people. So the shopping lists that go out ahead of time reflect the fact that most of these kids are cooking for a family. So it's just, it's great skills. We usually do it for 10 and up because 10 is usually the age that we find that kids can act independently in the kitchen. Most of our menus have a very specific eye to recipes and techniques that really are things that kids can do on their own. We really don't want to have to keep recalling the parents in to drain a pot of pasta water into the sink. So, our menus really reflect independence in the kitchen, because the more interested your kids are in, cooking, the more meals you're going to get out of it. So our classes are $45 per week. So again, you can sign up for, it's not a series that you have to take all of them. You can handpick when you go to our website to register for the classes. You just choose the dates that you want. And then a week before, you'll get a shopping list. So you know what groceries to have on hand. We'll tell you if there's any prep that needs to be done, whether they need to wash some potatoes or, peel something, but we try to keep the prep very minimal. We like to do everything start to finish with the kids. All of our teachers, it didn't take too long to sort of figure out how to teach in a virtual realm, but it's obviously very different. We're watching 10 different little screens. So I feel like I have a new superpower, and the superpower is being able to see 10 kitchens at once and seeing everything that's happening in one. I can see if a kid is reaching for the wrong ingredient, or is holding the pan wrong or a knife wrong. Again, that's my new superpower. I can see all of these things at once. I don't know how I do it, but that is sort of what we all became used to doing as teachers, and especially with kids. I see a question come in. If it could not find something. So obviously we're dealing with kids in the kitchens. The menus that we come up with are absolutely doable. We do not try to overwhelm kids, because if we overwhelm a kid, we're never going to see them again. We want to make this a positive experience, because, that's our goal in life, is to make people more comfortable in the kitchen. So we are oftentimes, if there's more than 6 kids in a class, we're going to have 2 instructors on the call. So one teacher is always going to be the face of the teaching, and the main instructor actually has 2 cameras on them. So when you log on, we'll show you how to put it on speaker view, and you're going to see the instructor in one screen, and then you're going to see their cutting board in another screen. All of my teachers have this. We have a secondary camera that's turned on and logged into the same Zoom room. So you're always seeing the face of the instructor, so you can connect with them and see what they're saying. And you can also see everything they're doing with their hands. That means what they're sauteing on the stove, what they're chopping. We can show them knife skills. We can help them, sort of understand, this is an onion, this is the skin, here's how you peel garlic. And again, if we have a larger group, we have a second instructor who's not on camera. They're on the chat box. So they are able to talk to the kids sort of independently. If somebody's falling behind, the teacher is going to, move on with the rest of the class, again, at a slow pace. But if someone's left behind, we always have somebody else on backup, being like, all right, it's 2 cups of flour. Okay, when you're ready for that, I'll give you the next instruction. So we've become very adept at this medium, this virtual teaching people in the kitchens. So this after school cooking school, again, is for kids who are showing interest in food science, learning new cuisines. Most of you, I think, are in the New York City area or the tri-state area. There's a plethora of, what is your menus like? All right, so I'll give you a sample. I'll give you the month's menus that's coming up, so you can get an idea of the different kinds of things. We definitely have a big focus on sort of global cuisines. Like I said, kids who come from sort of a metropolitan area are used to having takeout of every variety. So, we focus on cooking techniques, but we do love to introduce everybody to as many new ingredients as possible. So just for an example, what we have for the month, we're starting sort of in earnest on September 30th. That's when we're rolling out our first class, and then they will go every week. Right now they're on Thursdays. If there's a request for another night and if there's enough interest, we will open up separate sessions. We're starting with, so on September 30th, we're doing Indian food. We're doing chicken tikka masala with a cucumber mint raita and steamed basmati rice. Also, every menu can be turned into a vegetarian menu. We have lots of kids who don't eat meat or families don't eat meat. So it's chicken tikka masala, but obviously on the shopping list, there's always going to be a substitute for the meat protein. So there you can do a chickpea masala for this particular one. On October 7th, we're doing black bean burgers, homemade black bean burgers with sweet potato fries and roasted broccoli. On the 14th, we're doing chicken gumbo, or again, it can be a vegetable gumbo. We're doing a homemade skillet cornbread, so that's more of like the South of America. We're doing classic macaroni and cheese, real macaroni and cheese, not from a box. How do you make it? So, you know, it's what real macaroni and cheese is supposed to taste like. Smoky collard greens with bacon. Then we're doing a pad thai with shrimp or tofu and a coconut rice pudding. That's the next week. We're doing homemade corn tortillas. We're doing a Mexican night, but we're making tortillas from scratch, teaching them how to press them out and toast them, making a black bean filling, pickled red onions. And then we're doing a shallow fried falafel. So falafel is typically a deep fried, you know, a chickpea patty, but we do it shallow frying so kids can do it and you don't have to worry about any of the grease. But again, we cover so many different things. And we also, every time we do this, we pause for the summer, because what we did this summer is we built out a cooking camp. And I think a lot of kids we had about 6 different kids from Time After School joining us for it's week-long program. So when it's camp time, kids weren't all going back to in-person camp. But last year, summer 2020 and 2021, we do the week-long cooking camps. So you are joining us for a full week. We really get to know the kids. So we paused our after-school supper club at that time because everyone's schedule was different, but we're starting up again now that kids are back at school. So I assume most kids are back in school in person, but this is a nice thing to come home and do towards the end of the day, you know, be at home, make dinner for your family, and, you know, learn a lot of new skills. And as we come up with menus, we're always taking feedback from the kids. So after the first, you know, 4 or 5 sessions, before we post the next month's menus, we are always polling the kids. What do you want to learn how to do? What's something you've always wanted to try? And so we always respond to what they want to cook, because it's definitely more fun for us and it's more fun for them. So any questions for me?